Fine.
Hello, Jon. It's good to see you.
Hello, Jon.
For people who don't know you very well, would you like to tell us something about yourself?
Okay. I haven't always lived in Harwich, but I am a local man. I'm from Rochester, so I'm a man of Kent. I was brought up in Rochester, went to school in Medway, and so my family were obviously there and had a happy upbringing over in Medway. And then I got married 29 years ago. I know I don't look old enough, Jon, but I got married 29 years ago and moved with Liz straight away to Harwich. We've lived in Harwich ever since, and very much enjoyed living in Harwich. We've got three girls. Susie, she's the oldest, Josie, and then Alice, she'll be 10 in about 2 or 3 weeks' time. So Susie's 21, so we've got quite a range of girls, and good fun. We enjoy being a family.
And your job?
Yeah, so I went to university and graduated as a civil engineer, and my interest, really, my specialism is in rivers and anything to do with water. So that's what I've done all the way through my career. I have more recently specialised in reservoir safety. So this is a sort of niche part of my career, which is called flood risk management, and this is specifically in relation to dams and reservoirs. So I'm a panel engineer for reservoirs. It's a formal appointment made by DEFRA, and it means I can get out and about and check reservoirs, check that they're being operated safely, that they're being maintained safely. Obviously, this is all about making sure that they don't fail, because obviously if they did, there'd be a big risk to people, downstream who could be impacted, people could die from that. So I see it as an important job, something I very much enjoy doing, very interesting. Been doing that for about the last 10 years as a bit of a specialism. And it means I get out and about.
Sounds absolutely brilliant. And of course, you're a deep worker as well.
Yeah.
So Jon, you're somebody whose faith is obviously very important to you. And this morning we've been talking about commitment, and I'm very aware that word commitment can be a tricky word to people these days. So what would you say to people about yourself and your faith and that word commitment?
So I mentioned earlier that I grew up in Medway. My family were churchgoers. I was taken to church obviously from an early age, and that was all natural. But I wouldn't say that I was a Christian just because I went to church. And in fact, it wasn't until I went to secondary school that I went along to a Christian union there, which I did quite naturally. I was encouraged to do that because of my church background. And the teacher that ran the Christian union explained what being a Christian was all about. So it wasn't really until that time in my life, in my early teens, that I would say I became a Christian. And I guess I took it seriously from that time. I mean, I think I always took it seriously. But for me, it's been a growing faith over the years. So for me, commitment has been about getting to know God and being committed to that, if you like. I mean, if you look at in the Bible, Jesus had disciples. And if you look at that relationship, what that meant, that was all about those disciples over a period of time, getting to know Jesus for themselves, building a relationship, and in that sense, their faith in him growing. And then, of course, that moved on into the early church, and that relationship with God growing. And it's all, in that respect, in a nutshell, it's a sort of discipleship thing. So the commitment is about getting to know.
How does that work out practically, would you say, with that discipleship?
Yeah. So it's like any other relationship, Jon, isn't it? If you want to get to know somebody and get on with them, if you want to build a friendship, you have to work at it. You have to spend time working at it. Same with any relationship. And so it is with our faith in God and that relationship. You can only develop it if you're committed, if you like, to growing it. And growing it is all about getting into the Bible, reading the Bible, spending time with other people who believe the same thing. So going to church, praying, all of the things I guess we do talk about, but actually it's about committing to doing that and growing your faith through doing those things. But It's also about, I found in my life as well, it's about obedience.
Mm.
And I think that's an important word too that often we don't like. And I'm not saying I'm anything special or get things right all the time. I don't. I get things wrong. But in my heart, it's about wanting to get to know God and being obedient to what he wants from me.
Thank you, Jon. That's really helpful. Now, you mentioned the Bible in that, and one thing that, of course, you've been doing over the last 6 weeks is running the Bible course, and I think there's 1 week to go on that. So, how do you feel that's gone, and what are the key messages that have come out of that you might want to share with people?
Yeah, so Jon, if you remember when we first talked about this was as a result really of going into lockdown and being stuck at home and not being able to get out to church, and what could we do that would be of use and value to people who, effectively isolated in their own homes. And so we agreed that we would run this Bible course. It's a Bible Society resource. It's really well done. It's absolutely superb, very professionally prepared. The guy that runs it is very clear. So the whole thing's very well presented. We've run it on Zoom, and having got past the first glitches with that's run, I think, really well. And so the Bible course has taken us through the Bible over a period of 8 weeks, obviously at a very high level. Haven't got into real detail, but it talks about how the Bible was written. We can see what history is through the Bible. We find out more about God and how obviously that's reflected in the Bible. Find out about becoming a Christian and what that means and growing as Christians. So there's been some really useful messages coming through. And I think ultimately it's given us all, we had some good feedback. We had some great feedback from those that are on the course. And I think ultimately it's about giving us a way to take things away from the course to then look at in detail ourselves. And apologies for the clock, which I forgot to stop. It's going to time 11 times. So I might just pause.
So I think, Jon, I'm going to use this moment to say thank you very much. That was really, really helpful. Thank you for...
It's a pleasure. Thanks, Jon.